Over the course of the past century, mining has caused significant changes in the structural design of the Earth's lithosphere. From subsidizing an area to creating layers of tainted soil composition, this process has potential for degrading the environment. During the mining process, some waterbeds have the potential to become contaminated from pipe leakage. Over the years, Poland has used three different methods for operations such as underground, open cast, and borehole mining. Open pit mining has a large portion of the land, while other mining processes like underground mining make less of a geophysical change. Underground mining has the potential to lead to surface subsidence troughs, which can lead to water-filled basins. These basins can prevent plants from growing due to excess water. These waterbeds beneath the surface can create a spread of contamination to the rest of the watershed and the area it hovers over. Poland uses other forms of mining and less expensive approaches such as fracking, which has a record of using environmental caution when being performed. When the process of fracking is taking place, a large drill is put into the ground deep enough to where there is shale rock formation. And at that point, the drill begins to send a mixture of sand and a few chemicals to bust through the shale rocks and create tiny fissures between the rocks so that natural gas can be released and it is tangible enough to where it can be used for energy. Fracking is also a form of mining that tends to have a history of increasing the seismicity of geographic land features. Other popular mining operations such as coal mining creates a detrimental effect on the environment's purity and natural land. Soil composition from heavy equipments can be hard during reclamation and hard for native forest vegetation to reestablish, and it is altering the hydraulic cycle. A great amount of solid waste is created as a byproduct after the mining process. These solid wastes are a combination of acidity and heavy metal fragments and salts. Coal mining has some of the biggest concerns, such as coal catching on fire beneath the surface. The coal will absorb the fire and will also decrease the compaction of the earth and eventually cause the area to collapse. Other form of mining process is mountaintop removal, which is just plain out blowing up a mountain while the debris gets spread everywhere. The changes in topography can tell us how geophysical movements such as rock slides and avalanches of loose debris happen in post-mined areas. The physical effects from the mountaintop mining are very much similar to volcanic eruptions, where the entire landscape is fractured, deepened, decoupled from prior landscape evolution trajectories, effectively resetting the clock on the landscape ecosystem coevolution. Mined soils are what's left behind. Nearby rivers or mined soils are leftover debris and soil from a mining site that is blown up by explosives to convert them into smaller fragment pieces. This can give low porosity with the soil and limits the amount of groundwater flow that can happen. Despite all the negative effects, everything that is left over from mining industries is just put into valley fills, which is just a big old dump site for mining operations to dump their leftover debris. This can block rivers and bury streams. The blasts from the mining explosives begin to change the geologic ridge lines of the mountain slopes. Groundwater flow is a process that works between the lithosphere and the hydraulic cycle and can affect all the organisms that use said water for intake. Not only do native plants such as trees have difficulty growing on salvaged soils, but the bedrock beneath the surface becomes poisoned. Mining also has a significant effect on the human health. During the process of fracking, the drill usually the section of the pipe that is surrounded by the water has a potential for pipe leakage, and that can lead up to the aquifer to be distributed out to local buildings and homes. This means that a very small amount of chemicals could leak into the drinking water of people's homes. Mountaintop removal, some of the debris doesn't even get put into valley fills, but it can just flat out leave in people's yards, and the leftover debris can create smog and get into the air of people's homes. What needs to be done is more controlled monitoring and compliance. Poland does a great deal of reclamation when it comes to restoring the previous conditions of the environment to as best as it was before the mining process. Poland emphasizes the use of recycling in the mining industry. Although technological advances are an issue with the international market, the achievement of creating tools that would help recycle resourceful material from the landfill waste could be a big turnaround for the amount of impact on mining. The important thing for reclamation teams to remember is to work with what you got in terms of restoring its originality, because there's no going back. According to a specialist on the environmental impacts of mining, 1 hectare of land requires around 10,000 worth of investment and rehabilitation. The biggest step that operations can do for reclamation is to cover the post-mine area with vegetation. Mining companies have also begun to develop a strategy of planting trees on the mine dumps for leftover debris/waste. These certain trees have a root system long enough to sustain itself through a drought of up to 2 years. Mining is an expensive way of rehabilitation, but after the process is complete, it's time to begin to bring a natural aesthetic back to the land. They also must comply with the regulations and restrictions to bind them and to restore the environment they have altered back to a sustainable state. In the end, the most important goal in the mining process should always be to restore and degrade the land back to